Good afternoon from Bali, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I want to talk a little bit more about grief in the world, and often starting with the individual, moving into families, and then communities and the world. And grief, if you watch the first video of this series of alchemy, you'd see, so this is mental health and transmutation or alchemy. And when we're looking at mental health and grief, such an important idea. I won't even say idea, it's experience. It's literally, everyone has gone through some grief. So if you saw that first video, you would see that in grief recovery, grief is defined, or grief or loss are defined as an experience that has two different emotions. So I could have, many people will link grief to a loss of someone. So it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be an acquaintance. And it's not only limited to that loss, although that is the one that most often comes to people's minds when they think of grief, but any loss. A loss of job has, oh my goodness, I lost the job that I was in for 20 years, yet I'm really happy that I get to start something new. I've been wanting to do this. So that's the two different emotions. I'm happy about this, or really happy that I got a severance package, whichever way. So some loss and some other emotion. So this could even happen with good experiences. So you can imagine that if someone is getting married, it's such an exciting time, yet they're losing their independence. So there's a bit of a loss of that, oh, I really liked living on my own, but I'm really excited about getting married. So I'm sorry that I won't be living on my own, but I'm really excited that I'll be with someone. I won't feel lonely. So those sorts of ideas, that any two conflicting emotions that are happening in one experience, and most of us have gone through many and do go through many. I thought I would talk about what can often come from the result of actually working through grief completely, and it's the result of really understanding love. And this quotation is the only quotation that I'll be sharing today, because there's so much I'd like to share with you about how to work through grief, or why it's so important to. This quotation says, "Love is never lost. If not reciprocated, it will flow back and soften and purify the heart." Soften and purify the heart. So we can imagine, there's so many traditions that talk about purification processes. So whether people do this from fasting or different sorts of cleansing in terms of bathing, all of this is a purification. And there's a purification inside. So we can think of meditation might be one of the options, the one that I find most useful for sure. But prayer can fall into that category. Silence can be a great purifier. Connecting with nature can be a great purification process. And certainly in Bali, there's a lot of conversation, at least, about purification processes. For you to understand that this purification within is most important, because as we purify inside, our world becomes viewed through a lens that's clearer. And if I am clouded by my lens of sight, my vision is clouded by any sorts of emotions that are conflicting or unresolved, it always serves as a bit of a film through which I'm looking. And so this video is going to be about the cause and effect of grief and unspoken truths, and applying Vedic wisdom. So applying Vedic wisdom, again, a lot of big things to try to fit into this video, at least start. I wanted to focus on one thing in terms of grief that's very, very central to our understanding of, are we speaking truths? Because truth is, in this mind's opinion, experience, belief, all is very linked with love. When we can speak full truth from our awareness that there's truth here, then there's love here too. And when I look at love, that divine love, that not romantic love, not passionate love, this love that's deep and meaningful, to me, is very much linked with divine energy. And we can say again, divine, God, the universe, whichever term, source, whichever term matches your own perspective is good, because this is the space that love is flowing to and through all of us. And one of the things that I know that grief recovery has taught me, and I've worked with teaching lots of clients about this too, is how the mind likes to perceive someone, especially who's passed away. But I want you to look at grief in general about this. I'm going to use the example of someone passing away because I think it is most easy for people to relate to. There is a term called enshrinement. So when someone passes away, we hear about don't speak poorly of someone who's passed, and or the dead. If someone's been gone for many, many years, it's like, oh no, they're dead, and don't speak not kindly. And yet when we want to speak truth about a passing, we can see that this person was really good in these ways, and that's what we like to remember. That's what the mind wants to remember, because we go towards the things we want to remember and run from the things we do not want to remember. Yet, if we keep an open mind and truly look at grief and look at this process of conflicting emotions, or two different emotions, we can see that each person, every single one of us, has some good and some not so good. And what the mind wants to remember is the really good. We don't want to remember the pain and the suffering of the experience, of course, for that person most of the time, yet many people do, especially in the early stages of someone passing away. It's, oh no, they went through this much unease. And then as that heals a little bit, we go back into, well, there were days that were okay. They were a little bit stronger. They were able to do this. They weren't able to do that. And we start being able to pull apart some things rather than just generalizing it to this person was good. And of course, there are people who are not so good in our lives, or haven't treated us well, or haven't been kind, or haven't spoken kindly, or perhaps we're lazy, or any sorts of language that we could put onto things that we didn't like about this person. They were angry, they were disrespectful, they were not easy to speak with. Any of those things can stay in our minds. We're aware of that with a person that has passed, if a person has passed. So again, using that example, we don't want to talk about it. And so we're not speaking full truth. Yet in our minds and hearts, those memories are really quite strong and present because it's part of our learning. And in Vedic tradition, and I do believe most spiritual traditions would talk about this when you go deep enough into them to understand from an understanding perspective of the things the tools that we can use to grow. There's this whole idea of the absence of knowledge is one of the biggest bondages in life. So something that binds us to, I can't stop thinking about this person because I don't really know something. But how many people would say that when someone has passed away? How many people say, I don't know something? It's like, I don't know how to get through grief, might be something. I don't know how to stop crying, might be something. I don't know how to stop remembering, is something. One can wonder, why would we want to stop remembering? Can we do it with that grateful appreciation of what has been learned in the process? And again, the wisdom that rises when we really do heal is a wisdom that accepts all. That this was the whole picture. This person had not good energy and they had really good energy. Yet that's all of us. And that understanding leads to a compassionate experience, because now when I look at someone else and someone else is saying, oh, I didn't like my parent and they passed away and I didn't really want to speak with them, and we were estranged for this many years, and maybe I've lived through that. But there can be a lot of judgment from someone else who's listening, who thinks, oh, you shouldn't speak not well of the person who's passed away. I am going to expand this now to looking at other things that we can see are grief. So someone has lost a pet, let's say. This could be that loss of a pet. Again, we are looking at grief, but let's say someone is needing to give away a pet because they can't manage the handling of that pet at that time, because let's say a job is requiring that they're away from home more often, they're not able to take their dog for a walk, for example. Something that changes it requires. This can happen with children too. We know that there are many parents that are not able to take care of a child, and they might either go for a divorce or they might put the child up for adoption. So we know about these things. And don't we have a judgment about, boy, I wouldn't do that, and that's really not kind, and why would they leave? There's a lot of people that stay in a marriage, an unhappy marriage, and raise a child in an unhappy marriage because the grief, potential grief, not really the grief now, potential grief of only one parent parenting is so not good for the child. Meanwhile, not looking at the fact that what is happening right here, right now, is creating a grief in the child and the parents that are perhaps in a not so happy marriage or relationship or partnership. In this way, we're not speaking truth. So in that, if we can understand that we have trained ourselves to choose bits and pieces of grief or loss experiences that are okay to speak about and some that are not okay to speak about, and we don't even allow our minds to go there, guess what though? They still do. They're still there. Those memories are there. Those experiences are there of good and not so good. And every experience has that duality in it. Today, I'd love to shed a light on this fact that many people will color an individual in a situation under a certain lens. This is this wonderful person. Even if a person has a new baby, it's like, my baby is wonderful, because that's what people expect to hear. It's, you've had a baby and that's so beautiful, that's a miracle. And yet a parent might be really struggling to keep up with the demands of a baby. They don't want to say that, oh, I don't like the 3 o'clock wake ups. And when they actually do feel like they can share that truth somewhere, often it's a very close circle of mothers, new mothers, who are going through similar experiences, so they can share that, but they couldn't say that to a stranger on the street because, what do you mean you don't love your child? So this sort of idea, if we can understand that we're applying it to everything, I should only make this look good. And today we are speaking more truth. Today I'd like you to look at your own life experience and see, are you speaking truth because it's really truth, or because it's comfortable for how someone else might hear it, or it's because it's society's comfort, that society expects that people are thinking or speaking only good in these situations? Anything that there's going to be some experience that you're going through. I don't like all my coworkers, for example, you could say. Now, lots of people are pretty comfortable with saying that these days. But can you see the really great in them then? Then can you force your mind to notice that, yeah, in everything that's not so good, there's something that's good, and vice versa. In everything that's good, there's something not so good. So in terms of grief recovery, you would come across the words of enshrinement. So I try to make it look all good, that everything was good. I only remember the good about this situation or this experience or this person. Or everything is not good. Everything was so not good. They were this way, this way, this way. So my workplace could be this way. My family could be this way. My friendships could be this way. People I don't know could be this way. I generalize it. And so whatever you might be generalizing, start understanding, try to focus and clarify your mind to notice that there is good and not so good in each experience. And why does that help us as a society? Because I don't expect only good from someone. I don't expect only not good from someone. Even if my mind has been shaped by an experience with that actual person, to clear the mind and recognize that each experience is new, this is an understanding that is required for when we're looking at alchemy. This whole idea in terms of exploring Vedic wisdom, in the next video I'm going to talk a little bit more about these 3 Sanskrit terms. It's called avidya, which is absence of knowledge or ignorance. So in this video, I'm talking about, do we have an absence of knowledge, of understanding, how our mind automatically goes to protect someone that we care about, that I'm only going to talk about good about this, or wants to punish the person or thing that we don't care about or are not happy with. So that's an absence of knowledge or ignorance, when we're not recognizing there's good and not so good in each experience. Then there's kama, which is, kama is the Sanskrit word for desire. So I want to make that person feel good. I want to make another person not feel good. I want to make people think I'm good. So that comes back to ego, my desire for how do I look when I'm speaking in whichever way. And then there's the action, which is karma. And karma is, I'm going to do something, but I'm not going to do something about it. I'm going to come back to the root of, do we understand grief, and are we working through it for ourselves? Because every single person has gone through and is going through grief or loss regularly, are we utilizing this awareness that we might not be processing it in a way that is the most beneficial for our lives? Today, I leave you those things to reflect on, and knowing that I'll talk a little bit more about these Vedic terms and expand this idea of awareness so that we can look at alchemy and transmutation of the biggest energies that I think are affecting our world today. I wish you a fabulous day or night ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day or night, everyone.